Hey guys, Clay here at Havoc Off-Road. We've got a Supertop by Bestop. We're going to show you guys how to install that on your Jeep and try to walk you through the steps, make everything as simple as possible. Let's get started. We're going to install our rear bow mount bracket. Grab 2 of the 4 bolts that are provided in the kit, the driver's side bracket, and a 10mm socket. All right, there's already a hook and loop access panel back here to these 2 threaded bungs. I just fold this to the inside like that, get it out of your way. Make sure you have the bracket oriented in the right direction with the right side. Get these started. And then tighten them down. Now we're on the passenger side. You need to grab a big Phillips bolt, a washer, and a tapping plate. And we're going to put the C-pillar brace right over this molded rubber piece. And then fish your hand down here. Right underneath the edge of the tub. Grab your Phillips driver. Snug everything up. That tapping plate is supposed to keep itself in one place and help you tighten everything down without being able to get a socket or a wrench under there. Now grab your front and rear upper door rail, and we're going to get the rail brackets and some self-tapping Phillips head screws. These have got the pointed end on them. Just make sure you've got the extruded channel down, and you can reference the instructions, have a better picture of this as well. It's included with the kit. And we're just going to put this bracket on here. Same thing, extruded edge down, top of the bracket up. So now I've already got the other side done. They should mirror each other. Go ahead and snug up all of those screws. Make sure everything looks good, and we can move on. Now go ahead and grab your unassembled Sunrider latches. I've already assembled one so that you can kind of see what it's going to look like. The instructions also have pretty good pictures on this to figure out how everything orientates and goes together. But we're just going to take this bracket, a shoulder bolt, 2 washers, a lock nut, and the spring, and go ahead and assemble our latches. The shoulder bolt goes through the outside, then a washer in the middle, and that helps keep these separated so that they can act like a hinge. You put another washer on the outside, then we get our locking nut on there. Now to tighten everything down, grab your 1/8" Allen and your 3/8 socket and driver. And we're going to tighten everything down. Doesn't need to be too tight. It's a hinge, so it needs to be able to move. Make sure everything moves free and is snug. Then we need to install the latch spring. And you're going to need a pair of pliers for this. And we're going to fish this spring through a hole provided in the top bracket, and then it goes on the bottom of the notch on the bottom bracket. That's how it should look when it's done. It should move freely and be nice and snug. Then these brackets should mirror each other, and then we're ready to move on. Now grab your front and rear upper door rails, and then there's a rail connector bracket. Once your hinges are assembled, grab your hinge, and I'm going to go ahead and assemble this, and I'm going to show you some close-up shots on how everything goes together, because some of these procedures are a little difficult if you've never done this before. Everything should fit together pretty easily. If you find yourself something doesn't look right, just stop, rewind the video, look at it again, or get your instructions out, because everything fits together pretty nice on this kit. You don't want to over tighten these screws either, they just need to be snug. You can always tighten them up more if you strip them out. You can't undo that. And that's how it should look when everything's done and tight. That should be your latch. Everything should work. And then this is going to fit over the top of the Jeep and install our bow system to that. All right, we've got the assembled upper rails and our C-pillar rail. Grab 2 of your Phillips head bolts and locking nuts, and then we'll slip the C-pillar rail over the assembled upper rail. Get your Phillips through. Now the bottom of this is going to be the outside, so make sure we're going to the inside with the locking nut. Grab your Phillips and your 3/8 ratchet or drive, wrench, whichever you like. And then tighten everything down. Grab your upper assembled door rails and your C-pillar rail, and we're going to go ahead and attach that to the Jeep. This latch should be on the inside. There's a large Phillips head zinc plated bolt that goes into a threaded bung that's already in the Jeep body from the factory. And be careful while you're doing this because this bracket can bend in the middle. So make sure you start with this bolt first. This whole surround gets its strength once everything's bolted in, so it gives you a little bit of room for adjustment. And then there are 4 of these long bolts included in the kit, but we only need 2 for each side. On the back and the front upper rail bracket, we're going to come through the sport bar from the bottom with a washer. We'll go through the sport bar, through the bracket, and then with a locking washer, and then with a nut, and we're going to do that on the front and the back. Now we're going to attach the C-pillar door rail to the base plate at the bottom. Just grab a Phillips head, threaded bolt, and a locking nut, and attach everything together. Grab your tail bar clips. These are going to go on the upper edge of the tub. Make sure this flat piece is facing the outside and that this curve is up, and it should just clip in like that. Now we're going to attach the knob bracket plate to the header assembly. There's a backing plate and a knob bracket. It's going to fit underneath the header with the plate on top. Put your Phillips bolt through with a locking washer, and then your nut. Tighten everything down, and now there's one of these on the passenger side and the driver's side. And when everything's attached, that's what it should look like. It's time to install the side bows to the side bow link. Now the side bow link has got a radius on the top and then a 90-degree angle on the bottom. The radius is what lets this hinge back. So orientate these 2 bolts to the front because that's going to attach to your header bow. And then assemble it with 2 shoulder bolts and 2 locking nuts with that radius up. And then tighten everything down with your Allen wrench. Now with everything tight, it's still going to feel like it's a little loose, but that's okay, because this is what's going to hinge back. Now it's time to install the side bows we just assembled with the side bow link into the header panel. You're going to need 2 of the Phillips head self-tapping screws for each side. It works better if you fold this link, it kind of gets out of your way, because remember it won't fold the other way. Get one of those self-tapping screws started. And I like to go to the other one. This way, if you kind of need to move it around, you can. Tighten everything up. Now it's time to install the number 2 bow to the side bows. You're going to need a long Phillips head bolt, 2 of these gray bushings, and a locking nut. The bolt's going to go in through the outside, and this process is much easier if you lay this out on the floor. Push the bolt in through the side bow on the outside. The number 2 bow is going to get a bushing on the inside and the outside. Slide that over your bolt. Get your threaded lock nut started, and then tighten everything up. And these don't need to be too tight. Once again, all this stuff's got to hinge and move around. It just needs to be snug. So just make sure it moves, everything's snug, and we can move on. Now it's time to install our bow number 3 onto our header assembly. You're going to get 2 of the plastic protective end caps, 2 shoulder bolts, 2 locking nuts, and make sure you've got your Allen and your 3/8 drive. These are just going to snap into the end, and this just helps protect the top. And then we're going to put this tab facing down with the assembly folded forward right into the top of this knuckle. And then get a shoulder bolt and your locking bolt. Grab your Allen. Snug that up, and then go ahead and install your shoulder bolt and locking nut on the other side. It's time to grab bow number 4, and we're going to go ahead and install this on the Jeep. I've already put the protective caps on the end. You saw that in the previous install. Grab a clevis pin, a clip, a big washer, and a small washer. And the order is going to go pin, put the big washer in next, bracket, small washer, and then put the retaining clip in. Now this is easiest done with a friend, but we've gone ahead and put the assembly on top of the Jeep, the header bow of course to the front, and go ahead and fold everything out. Go ahead and attach your clips on the side here that are going to hold the middle of the top in place once everything's assembled. And then we're back here to bow number 3, and we're going to attach this to the bracket that we just attached bow number 4 to. You're going to grab the same clevis pin, retaining pin, and 2 small washers. And that sequence is going to go clevis pin, washer, and that helps create some space between these 2 things so everything hinges properly. Put on your another washer, and then attach it with your clip. And this just helps you take everything apart when you need to quite easily too, with no tools, once you get everything installed if you want to take it off at the beach. All right, now we're going to put the top on the vehicle. Now we've had this outside in the sun so that everything's nice and soft and pliable. This is where a friend helps, and we're just going to drag this like the top will be positioned when everything's finished. Now that we've got the top loosely in place, we're just going to fold this header panel back so that we can access everything and attach this top to the header panel. And this is where you're going to want to make sure the top is not caught in between any of the hinges. And then just fold this piece back. Now we'll attach the top to the header panel, and we'll show you how that's done. Now that we've got the top in the back position, we're going to slide this header welt over the front of the header panel. Like that, and we're going to get everything lined up so that we can get this thing, the header retaining bracket on, and get everything installed. And once everything's in, this welt is going to stay right against that ridge, and then the header retaining bracket is going to slip under these brackets and retain all of that and keep it nice and tight, and we'll show you how that's done. Now we're going to install the header retaining bracket. Make sure that welt is nice and tight up against the header panel. We're going to go underneath this bracket like that, and then it should just snap into place and line up with the pre-drilled holes and the side bow. And then we'll install 2 self-tapping screws in that, and then we'll push this plastic retaining clip over and we'll attach it to the pre-drilled holes and the bracket, and then we've got a top. You're going to need 4 self-tapping screws and your Phillips head screwdriver, and we're just going to attach this retaining bracket to the header bracket. Oop. Now keep in mind, this stuff is all in steel, so we don't want to over tighten anything, strip anything out. It just needs to be a snug fit. Now we're going to pull this plastic piece up over the edge. Grab 2 more of your self-tapping screws. Get everything in place. Now I'm going to go over and button up the other side, and then we can move on. We almost have a top on our JK. Now it's time to fasten the header bracket to the header. You're going to need to loosen one side and remove one of these bolts so that we can get to the 2 holes that are underneath of it. And there should be a lock washer and a bolt. Pull that out of the way. Get your self-tapping screw. And you should be able to get to this one with no problem. And it may seem like the long way to install that bracket first, but now you've got the plate on the other side. Everything's oriented in the right direction, and you don't have to guess about it now. Then we'll attach this bracket back. With your lock washer first. And then the nut. And I'm just holding the nut on the back side of the bolt with my finger until you kind of feel everything thread in the right way. And then once it is, you just tighten it down. And then we've got another Phillips head bolt and a locking nut that's going to go in this back piece of the header bracket. Grab your 3/8 wrench. Tighten everything up. Make sure you've got all your screws in place. Go back over it, make sure everything's secure, and then we can move on. The next step, with the top in the closed position, this is just Velcro or hook and loop, and it just Velcros around this bow. Now to relieve tension on the top, when we install the top two bow 3 and 4, I'm just gonna lift this up, and I've got a scrap piece of wood. It won't hurt or harm anything, and we'll just place it right in the channel. Now we're just gonna fold the back portion of the top forward so we can easily get to the bows 3 and 4. Now we're gonna actually attach the top to the number 3 bow. The instructions tell you there's a pre-drilled hole in the fabric. It's not really pre-drilled, but if you can see, there's a little imperfection in the correct spot, and I just put these screws in ahead of time. The fabric helps keep everything in place and makes it easier to install the top to the bow. And then this flap is going to go on. You'll feel there's pre-drilled holes in the bow like this. So with the tension relieved, I'll get inside and we'll attach this top to the bow. Now it's time to install the top to the number 4 bow. Just find the pre-drilled holes on the bow and it'll help you understand how this top attaches. These are going to wrap around the back side of the bow and attach from the bottom. And now I've gone ahead, just like we did on the previous step, and pre-fastened my screws to the welt, and now we'll get underneath of it and we'll attach the top to the bow number 4. Now we're going to install the rear corners of the top, and this plastic edge is going to go up underneath the tub rail, and you can just pull down on the top a little bit and get it started, and then we're going to walk it all the way around the corner of the tub rail. All right, the kit comes with this seal, and you've probably been wondering what it's for the whole time. This C-pillar has got a sharp edge on it, and this is to guard that against the quarter window so nothing rips, and that just slips over this channel. It's going to be one piece. We've already installed the other side, but they leave you a lot of excess, so just go ahead and cut one side. Don't worry about it. You'll have enough left over for the other side. And it stays on there pretty well, and once everything's on and heated up, I don't think you'll have any issues with it. You shouldn't have to glue it. And then once you know how long it is, just cut it to fit. Now we're going to make sure that the top is fastened to the latch. Help keep everything in place. Make sure that's done on both sides. And then we can fold the top forward. Oh, almost have a top. Now with the rear of the top uninstalled to the tub, this gives you a little bit of play in the header panel. You've got your header panel knob and bracket. And there's one of these for the driver and the passenger side. Now we're going to install the quarter windows. There's an adjustment here, so as the top stretches over time, you can move it back to this back location, but make sure you've got it all the way forward. That leaves the top so that it's even really possible to get these on the first time, which is what you want, because this material is going to stretch out over time, and then you can adjust it. So just slip that into the zipper. Now just go, I don't know, 3 or 4 inches forward, and then start assembling the front rail. And this plastic edge is going to slip into this C channel. And it's okay if everything doesn't fall right into place. Then start the bottom lip. This plastic lip goes underneath the tub rail just like it does in the back. And pull this forward again. And it's going to take a little bit of massaging to get everything to fit right the first time. But that's what you want. You want the top to fit tight. If it fell into place the first time you put it on, you'd be mad in a couple months. And then go ahead and install this top rail. It's the same thing. There's a plastic piece that fits underneath the channel like that, and that's going to help keep this quarter window in place. And then shut the door on it, and that's going to help keep everything in place as we work our way around to the back with the zipper. All right, now this zipper, you're going to want to fasten from one edge, from one side, both zippers, and then walk one zipper around to the other side. This will let you undo each side so that you can roll the top up and access the cabin without removing the whole window. Once you've got your window zipped in, it's time to put the tailgate bar in place. There's a channel, and it's just going to slip right over this rear window. Then you can roll it up into the tailgate clip. Make sure your zippers are fastened all the way down. Well, that was it. Top's installed. If you guys have any questions, give us a call or visit us at havocoffroad.com.